Welcome. My name is Peter Strong, and I provide online therapy over Skype, especially for treating anxiety. Most of my clients come to me for help with overcoming anxiety. And driving anxiety is one particular form of anxiety that's very, very common, and of course is a big problem for many people. For example, one of my clients had a fear of bridges, and she was living in Florida, and this, of course, made it very difficult for her to get anywhere, since she had to travel over many bridges to get to work. So, if you're interested in online therapy for driving anxiety, do please go to my website and simply email me, and I'll explain to you how mindfulness therapy works for overcoming fear of driving or highway phobia, or whatever particular form of driving anxiety that you have. So it's really much easier than you might think. Really, the central focus of mindfulness therapy that makes it work so well for anxiety is that it works on changing that underlying process that creates the anxiety. And that process is primarily built around imagery. That is the way you see the emotion in your minds. And this is particularly the case, of course, if you're recovering from a car accident that will have left a traumatic memory image in the mind. And that imagery is what creates the anxiety. The imagery gets triggered by external sights and so on, the side of the road, the place where the accident happened, and so on and so forth. But what causes the anxiety is that internal imagery, traumatic imagery in this case. Most people are not aware of their emotional imagery. They're simply aware of what triggers the anxiety and then the experience of the anxiety, but not the black box in between. In mindfulness therapy, we focus on opening that black box to look at the actual imagery that creates your anxiety. Once you begin to investigate and get to know the structure of that imagery, then you can produce effective changes in that imagery. The imagery, remember, is simply formed out of habits, and habits, as you know, thrives on unawareness. The moment you start to bring awareness to that imagery, then you can choose how to change that imagery into a form that's less intense and less traumatic and creates less anxiety. So this is one part of mindfulness therapy, working with internal imagery. There's many other factors as well that really make it such an effective approach. Another key feature, I would say, of mindfulness therapy is the idea that we actually learn to develop a friendly relationship with our emotions. This is absolutely crucial. Most people don't like painful emotions, and it's natural that we run away from them, we avoid them, we react with aversion to them. But reactivity, whether it's either avoidance or aversion, is not going to change that habitual process that creates the anxiety. It actually strengthens the underlying emotion. So we have to overcome those again, natural habitual patterns of reactivity to the anxiety. And this we do with mindfulness therapy. It works extremely well. You actually learn to make friends with your anxiety and see it as an object, as something that's part of you but not you. It does not have to define you. For example, one client I was working with, I helped her see the anxiety as being like a small version of herself, a small person. And she was able to put that person in the passenger seat of the car and take her for a drive. So she was literally taking her anxiety for a drive. So she had changed her relationship to her anxiety. She was no longer overwhelmed by that anxiety. She was no longer controlled by it. Instead, she had formed a conscious relationship with that anxiety. And when you're conscious in that way, you do not suffer. You do not experience the anxiety. You basically are learning to care for the anxiety and help it heal and change itself. So this is a key feature of mindfulness therapy, learning to build conscious and caring relationships towards your emotions, and of course that means towards yourself. If you'd like to learn more, go to my website and email me. I'll be happy to answer your questions, and we can schedule a trial Skype therapy session to work on your particular form of driving anxiety or working with trauma if you're recovering from a car accident. The important thing is to take action. Call me, send me an email, and let's get started here. Because mindfulness therapy is so direct and works with the underlying cause rather than just treating symptoms, it works very fast indeed, and most people will see quite significant improvements after 3 to 4 sessions. And that certainly happened with the case of my Florida lady who, after 3 or 4 sessions, was able to finally leave the island that she was living on and return to the mainland, where she needed to meet business colleagues. So that worked out quite well for her. Another lady I worked with abroad in the Middle East started off without being able to drive more than a block away from her home before she had a panic attack. After 4 or 5 sessions, she was able to drive for over an hour without having significant anxiety. And we can continually improving the outcome for her, so that eventually I hope she would have complete freedom in where she drives without any anxiety at all. And this is definitely possible. So go to my website, contact me, and let's schedule a Skype therapy session. Thank you.